From the master of terror comes a new breed of evil. This week, on The Devil's Workshop, John Carpenter's Vampires. Welcome to The Devil's Workshop. I'm your host, Katie Oliver.
And I am your host, Nick Oliver.
So this week, we're talking vampires.
Yeah, do you want to talk about your history with this movie, Sam?
Sure. I mean, I personally am a huge lover of John Carpenter, starting with watching Halloween at a formative age. And, just devouring the rest of his movies as quickly as possible after that. But the one that took me years to see was Vampires. I don't think I saw that until you and I were dating. And, well, should I say what I thought about it the first time I saw it?
Sure.
I hated it.
Oh, great.
Despite being a total Carpenter devotee. Whereas, for you, that was not the case.
Yeah, so there's a possibility. I don't know this for sure, but there's a reasonable chance that this was actually the first John Carpenter movie I saw.
That's strange.
Yeah, there's probably not that many people who can say that.
You're on a list of 3, maybe.
I'm not sure when I saw Halloween, and I'm not sure when I saw The Thing. It would have been one of those 3.
Not like Big Trouble or something?
Yeah, that might also, that's a candidate too. Because when this movie came out, I think I was about 11-ish. Mm-hmm. So, which is probably too young for me to watch this movie.
Yeah, definitely, probably.
I'm too young to watch this movie now. But 11, that would be the age at which a lot of young, before teen, but still young kids.
Tween.
Yeah, I guess. That term didn't exist then in 1997, I don't
Preteen.
think. But that's when a lot of people would have been first getting exposed to things like Halloween and early slashers. That's sort of the right age for that. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. But I loved it. When I saw it. I saw this in the theater, I'm pretty sure.
God, we're like fire and ice.
Yeah, I loved this movie at that point. And I've rewatched this movie quite a lot over the years. It was almost definitely the most violent movie I'd ever seen.
You've grown up with this movie.
Yeah, sort of. It was almost definitely the most violent movie I'd seen up to that point. It still is really rather violent, so it would be... Yeah. It has some effects that I would say are pretty up there in terms of the whole wretched displays, which is great.
And treated with Carpenter's sort of typical unsentimental camera, which I think makes it feel more brutal, perhaps.
And I've watched this more recently. I guess so. Last time I watched it was your first time.
Yes.
And I liked it considerably less.
Oh.
Yeah, which is a shame.
And I hope it's not because you were, absorbing my negativity or something.
I'm sure there's an element of that, because anytime that two people watch something, you do always feed off of one another to a certain extent. So that's probably not irrelevant to my reaction. But even so, it was just me being a more mature viewer and realizing that this movie has problems.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that's going to probably inform much of our discussion today, like the sort of glimpses of John Carpenter genius and craft that poke through a kind of miserable movie.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear before we go into this. I went into Vampires the first time with a totally open heart, expecting to love it, why I should absolutely love a vampire movie by John Carpenter, because I love everything else he's ever done. But also when I went into this a second time around, 7 or 10 years older or something like that, I opened my heart to it again. And what do you know? It betrayed me a second time. So I can't wait for us to talk about this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But that said, yeah, I mirror the John Carpenter love. So I can say unequivocally John Carpenter is my favorite director. I love John Carpenter. I love even the things that don't work, which I think this movie is that, at least in large part, I still have a certain love for. Late period John Carpenter gets a little weird.
Sure, but
yeah, he's old and jaded, and he's been screwed by the Hollywood system at this point, and he's fallen out of love with movie making. But
his movies are always interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't prepare for this in the spirit of transparency, because I'm going to spring this on you.
Oh.
So I didn't prepare for it, but we've talked about this many times in our life. What are your top 5 John Carpenter movies?
Oh my God, how could you do this to me at such a critical juncture? Okay, this is not going to be in any particular order.
Likewise.
Because it's kind of off the old dome. Oh geez, I wish I had a list of his movies in front of me. I'll just go by instinct.
Yeah, we're going in cold.
Halloween, Big Trouble in Little China, Prince of Darkness. I can't remember a single other one of his films.
Vampires by default.
It's definitely vampires. Oh shoot, help me out here. I'm dying.
All right, I'll do mine. How about that?
Yeah,
and then
do yours.
I'll do mine. And I'll stall for time. I'll filibuster. I'm going to tell everybody what my top 5.
Vamp while I pull
slowly.
up Letterboxd. Yeah.
So you can see what movies he's directed. So for me...
okay, here we go. Yeah,
so
go
for
ahead.
me, Assault on Precinct 13.
Okay, yeah.
Starman.
Yeah, sure.
Prince of Darkness.
Sure.
The Thing.
Yes.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes. Okay, wait. Can I have a top 6?
No.
Damn it. Okay, wait. So, okay.
Because I noticed you said Prince of Darkness. That's not usually in your list.
Well, I've been thinking about it recently. Okay, hold on. No, for real this time. Serious. Big Trouble, Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, The Thing. Okay, depending on the day, the last slot is either going to go to Escape from New York or Prince of Darkness. One of the two.
I associate Escape from New York with you. I think that's...
Oh, God, I love them both so much. Why would you do this to me?
I'm mean. I'm a mean husband.
Wait, so you're telling me your favorite John Carpenter movie is not Village of the Damned?
Unfortunately, no. There are things I like about that movie.
God, it's like I don't even know you.
Well, you want to go ahead and get into this?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so there are a couple things that are important to mention here. One is that this movie gets mean. So we're going to talk about some really dark stuff in this one. So
yeah.
Hopefully you're down to clown on that.
Soft-hearted listeners, put on your Teflon coating for this one. It's probably a sad movie.
Yeah, this probably isn't a podcast in general for soft-hearted people. It's about horrible things happening to people who don't deserve it in general.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's like there's something sort of universal about like a bleak amusement at our own suffering. I don't know. There's something good about that.
Oh, yeah. I have no issue with horror, but I'm saying if you have an issue with horror, perhaps this is not going to be the lightest
of subject matter.
Yes. Yeah, this is gonna have some very violent stuff in it. So just be ready for that. One minor note, I'm not sure if you realize this because we haven't talked about this in the past few days, but this is based on a novel.
I remember seeing the attribution in the credits. Right.
So, but I haven't read it. So, for all I know, in our revisions, we've basically just rewritten this novel. So
do you recall the author?
John Stakely? It's something like that.
Stakely?
Yeah, I know.
Get real.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
God rest his soul.
Oh, he's passed.
He's passed.
He'd buy a steak, actually. You wouldn't think it.
Indeed. All right. Well, normally we would like to point out where you can stream something. if you want to watch this before you actually listen to us get into it. Unfortunately, this seems to be unavailable for streaming basically anywhere. So you'll have to rent or buy this one, unfortunately. But I do think it's worth watching. It's an interesting movie.
Yes, as a sort of relic of like John Carpenter studies, you know.
All right. Otherwise, you about ready?
Yes.
Okay.
We got to talk about this movie.
Yeah, what's working for us?
Okay, so actually, for this to be a movie that I profess to hate, there's a lot that I think it does well, and a lot that I can appreciate about it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, just to start in a kind of chronological order, I rather like the opening sequence of this film.
Yeah.
You know, the winch, like the crossbow winch setup being used to kill vampires is a really fun innovation that I have not seen anywhere else. And I think the chaos of the skirmish that happens in that first scene, even though no one dies other than the vampires, I think the chaos of it is really well orchestrated. And it does a good job of showing like how quickly things can get out of hand when you're dealing with a supernatural entity.
I think that opening sequence is the highlight of the movie by far.
Yes.
It's not even close, really.
And it's such a shame that that's how it is, you know?
But like it does so much, and I think it's so successful that for people who do like this movie, and I'm sort of that, this is the part of the movie that I think about.
Sure.
Like this is my imagination of that. I like it's really effective. For one thing, it's super duper duper violent. So I appreciate that. It definitely sets out right away, like, okay, guys, this is what this movie's gonna be.
The action looks pretty great, and I think I love the effect of the burning vampires when they're exposed to the sun.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah. And like the way they sort of char and calcify immediately.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. But it's also really effective in showing the audience, okay, here are who all of these characters are. Here's what their
jobs.
Like. Yeah, so the vampire hunters, what I like about it, one of the things I like about this is that they have more in common. I don't know. I mean, if you imagine what a vampire hunter is, like ignore what we already know about this movie and just throw that out. Like, okay, there's a team of elite vampire hunters who are on the payroll of the Catholic Church, and they go around exterminating nests of vampires. You might have certain images of what that is.
But it's not that.
This is not that.
Yeah.
So these guys probably have more in common with
bounty hunters.
More tradesmen than that, even. So like they remind me of firefighters or maybe like a demolition crew,
or like I thought like a SWAT team or something.
Less to me, it's much less military, it's much less police, it's much more like carpenters.
Very blue collar.
Sure. Yeah, I mean they do have firearms, so I mean they use guns and things like that. So the comparison to a SWAT team is not that's not baseless, of course, but yeah, it's so working class, and it's so just putting on your gear. I mean, I think that the vehicle they pull out looks like a modified, like an ambulance. It's using the winch and the Jeep and all that. It reminds me of something like a firefighter. Which is I like the idea, just how working class the whole thing is.
And it's neat to see how the team is like their methods are clever, but they're not particularly coordinated in their strike.
Right.
You can see there are kind of issues latent within the group, even from the very beginning, even in a very successful run.
Sure.
So that opening scene, I think, is like working overtime to prepare you for what the movie's going to be, except I do think it's a little bit misleading. I think it makes the rest of the movie seem like it's going to be a lot more fun than it actually is.
Sure.
But
the rest of the movie fails to live up to it.
Yes, that's probably a better way to term it. Because it is super fun and innovative and interesting. On that note, like things that are also kind of right out the gate, like I really like a lot of the sets in this movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
Everything looks dusty and hot and like just kind of shitty.
Yeah. So actually, one thing this is somewhat beyond the scope of what we can deal with in this podcast effectively, but I do like the color grading in this movie because New Mexico doesn't like normally if you want to be in a desert setting, if you want to do it, especially if it's in Mexico or Latin America, something like that, they just make everything look orange. This is obviously not Latin America, it's New Mexico, but even so that most often is true, where if something's going to be set there, they'll just grade everything to where it looks yellow and orange. The desert doesn't really look like that. So I appreciate that there's actually green in the desert.
Yeah.
It still looks like the desert. But
yeah.
So
Sure.
That's something I enjoyed. But yes, that certainly are great. I like, actually, in this opening sequence, I like how it paints these characters as already fairly despicable. So one of the first time you get a shot of a character who is not our lead, James Woods as Jack Crow, you get Montoya, who is played by Daniel Baldwin.
Oh boy.
And he's peeing.
Yeah. Yes.
So
there's something
that's our intro to our character.
There's something unsavory about the crew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're all very sadistic. So when they capture when they have one pinned, they wound it for fun. I mean, they're completely unlikable. They taunt it. Yeah. There's nothing redeemable about them. They're killing vampires, so they're not that bad.
They're providing a public service, but I wouldn't want to hang out with them.
No, they're not so great. Yeah. Additionally, I mean, that it certainly makes clearly what the vampires in this movie are, which for the time are not so typical. For 1997, this is a pretty different version of the vampire.
Sure. Well, I feel like this movie feels like a response to like the Anne Rice vampire phenomenon.
Yeah, it's about as far from that as you can get while still being humanoid.
Kind of.
There are other versions of vampires
slavering
that are like
beasts.
Yeah,
they're not Nosferatu.
They're not. They're humanoid basically. There's no.
They're not like
grotesquely
Orlok freak monsters or something.
Right.
They look like Urban Outfitters models. Still, they look like Kate Moss, but. Like there's a little bit of that shared visual language of the vampire, but they're not sort of like the, Euro nobility frock coated variety.
Right.
They have a good look. I think I like the styling of the vampires a lot. Mm-hmm. I like most of the clothes and the costuming in this film quite a bit.
Okay.
Also, I know this is like immaterial to our discussion, but I really like half of this soundtrack. Half of it sounds like twangy and a little silly to me, but the other half of it just sounds like a rip-off of Goblin's score of Suspiria. And it's very moody and like shadowy, and I was into it. Half the time.
I love the whole soundtrack. I think the whole thing's great.
Other things that we like.
I like the way that the vampires are established, like what their powers are, what they can do. So a lot of the time, if you have a certain kind of imagination, like think about me as an 11-year-old who's watching this movie, right? And so how do you kill a vampire? Okay, you go through all the rules, and so all the Dracula ones. And the ones from Dracula that most people forget, like crossing moving water and shit. But
Sure.
excluding those, the big ones usually garlic, cross, stake through the heart, sunlight,
throwing a bunch of barley on the ground.
Sometimes it's silver if it's more modern. Mm-hmm. That's usually a modern iteration. But
thresholds and stuff.
Yeah. So, but if you're a stupid 11-year-old, like, what happens if you shoot a vampire in the head, right? Which they promptly do. I like rules for something like this, and I like testing of rules. So one of these sadistic vampire hunters, they have what they have are these big spears that they basically trap vampires with. They'll spear them and sort of latch them, sort of cram them into a corner where they can get away. And then they'll hit them with this crossbow tethered to the winch, and they'll just winch them outside in the sunlight, right? Mm-hmm. So again, these people are all really sadistic. So somebody who's just being an asshole stakes a vampire right in the forehead, right?
Yeah.
What would happen if you stake a vampire in the forehead?
Well, now we know the
now
answer.
We know. Like the vampire, I mean, he really doesn't like it, but he really
doesn't care for it.
No, but I appreciate shit like that. Like, okay, so let's take our rules. Let's demonstrate them. This is how this works, right?
Let's answer your questions as the viewer.
Particularly as if you're a juvenile, as I was.
of a certain era of history.
Yeah. But again, I like that kind of stuff too, especially right at the very beginning. Like, okay, I know what world we're in. I know everything about how this world works. A lot of movies, you sort of figure that shit out as you're, if it's an hour and a half, which, movies used to be that long. Now they're 3 hours and 45 minutes.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. If it's, if it's an hour and a half movie, 45 minutes in, you figure out how it works. You reach the halfway point. Your heroes figure out what the rules are, and they spend the remaining. This isn't exact, but they spend the remaining half of the movie trying to affect the rules in their own way
to game the system.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that. Which great.
In some ways, it's a little like Leprechaun in that regard.
Right.
Like it starts at the place where you'd have to kind of laboriously climb to in many other horror movies.
Right. Which is one of the...
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the difference there. Not much else in common with Leprechaun.
No, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
No. Let's see. I actually like a lot of the action scenes. Not all, but a lot of them. Because again, they feel very kinetic. Mm-hmm. They feel chaotic. Just like... the action doesn't look particularly streamlined for the most part. Like no one's like doing their power flexes and stuff or like posing or anything. So it feels very sort of earthy in a way that works for this movie pretty well, I think. And in terms of performances, I mean, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and say Cheryl Lee will always get big hard eyes from me.
Yeah,
every
Cheryl
time.
Lee, which if most people know her from anything, it's Cheryl Lee, Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks.
Yes, she is such a rock star. God, she's so talented. She's so beautiful. She's always she is so able to capture your full attention anytime she's on screen. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I just wish that she had a little more to do in this movie.
She's a real talent, for sure. She's one of those actresses you have to wonder, how didn't it happen for her?
I know.
How did she not have a bigger career?
But, oh, God, it's good to see her.
Yeah. This is really the only other thing I've seen her in, other than Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks, think about how big that was at one point.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. We should make a point of, looking at more of her stuff, because she just dazzles me.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a real talent. Actually, I have a lot of positive stuff to say about really most of the cast. I think this is going to be probably the arena in which we'll disagree here.
Oh, I suspect so.
Yeah. So the lead in the movie is James Woods, right? Which, if you know his work, and I don't especially, I was looking at his filmography, and I just happen to have not. I've kind of dodged most of his stuff.
You've limboed.
Yeah,
around
it's just one
him.
of those things. I like him. I like him just fine, but I've missed most of it. I've seen Videodrome. As have you.
Yeah.
I suppose I've seen Hercules. That's a voice role.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen that all the way through.
Oh really?
Isn't that strange?
That's around this time. Yeah, so that's this James Woods.
Oh my God! Wait, so did Hercules get James Woods vampires, or did vampires get James Woods Hercules?
I don't know.
The eternal question.
I don't know. But people loved him in that voice role.
He's an icon. Apparently, apparently, I need to watch that.
I think James Woods is well cast in this movie.
He's really okay. Casting no aspersions on this man, I do not know. He's really good at acting like a prick.
Yeah. Sure.
Like a bastard.
Yeah, he's a real asshole. He's what I like about him, I mean, there's the performance, right? So there's obviously the thing that he brings to the role. Is he good at acting or not, right? You know, that's hard to quantify. Yes, I think so. But that's a kind of need to see it thing. But what I like about it in terms of the physicality, so James Woods is not like a big tough guy, right? He's small.
He's a little string bean.
Yeah, he's small. He's kind of wiry. He's too old. I mean, he's in his mid-50s at this point. But that's the thing that I like about it. Because working class people like that, who are working trades, that's what they're like.
Sure.
That's what they're actually like. They're not
looks,
like if this movie were made today, the lead would be Chris Pratt.
Ew.
Right.
Wait, sorry, no offense, Chris Pratt, but you're not right for this. But he does have that sort of like rode hard, put away wet look to him.
Yeah.
That I can see why that
he doesn't
works.
look strong, but like people who are that way, people who actually work like carpenters, a lot of the time, not always, but generally speaking, carpenters, tradesmen, firefighters. I mean, a lot of these guys aren't huge guys. They're not big muscular dudes. They're just lean and wiry, and they're the ones who will surprise you. Who perform the great feats of strength or whatever. Like I'm willing to accept him because he doesn't look like the type. But we're so used to the opposite now. Mm-hmm. We're so used to everybody being so big and tough.
Hulked out.
Yeah, but like you get the sense they know the inside of a nail salon better than having done any real physical work.
Right. They know more about French tips than like nails, like hammers and nails.
Right.
Sorry,
Sure.
not French tip. What am I saying? Fingernails. Oh my God.
I don't know what a French tip is. So.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are problems I have with his performance. There are choices that were made there that I think were to the detriment of the movie for sure, and we'll get into a lot of that. But in terms of the body that he has, what he brings to it, like, yeah, that's the right guy.
It's recognizable
for something.
To you.
Yeah, the real world looks like that.
I hadn't thought about the physicality or like his presence in that way. I think that's a really nice point. And like, I'll be talking about James Woods in a later section of the podcast.
Sure.
But you've given me something to think about that I can appreciate. I kind of think Thomas Ian Griffith, the master, sometimes looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I think he's well cast too.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about him. There's he's underwritten, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. I definitely think he's underwritten. But here's what works about him to me. There's a thing that people joke about online now all the time, which is that like some people you can't cast in period pieces because they have a face where they look like they know what an iPhone is.
iPhone face, yes.
Yeah. This guy is the opposite of that. Like, he looks like he knows somebody who died from the Black Death.
This man has harpsichord face.
Right.
What are we going to call that?
I don't know.
I'll be thinking about that.
Okay.
But yeah, you are absolutely right. This man looks like he had croup as an infant.
He looks like he's from 600 years ago. You completely buy that.
Yeah.
So he, again, in physicality, he's got it. I like him a lot. I think he's good. But
he feels threatening.
He just doesn't have enough to do. But again, we'll save that.
Yeah.
Hard to put those things in the box some of the time.
Yes,
keep things ready to go.
To regiment, to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Other things that we...
Father Guito for me.
Oh, yeah, I like him.
I think it's really easy to like him because there's almost nobody in the movie who is likable. So when somebody comes in, it's like, hi, I'm trying to be a good person. You just latch on to him.
Yeah. You need him.
You need him desperately.
He's the anchor. Like he's the doorway into the movie, I think. And I've got to say, like, for that reason, when he is hardened at the end, when he's just been so repeatedly brutalized and broken down by the Woods Crow character, it feels tragic. I kind of ache for this character by the end of the movie, who is now violent, who has sort of gotten rid of his priest's collar, who, is out for blood, who discovers his own facility with killing.
Sure.
I find that tragic. And, emotionally, this movie has a pretty big impact on me, even if I don't really like it. But it's not because it's dull and ineffective. It's very deliberate, and it's very efficient, I would say, at producing a certain set of emotions in the viewer.
That's the funny thing. So him having his moment where the collar comes out, whatever you call that, the collar,
the white band.
Yeah, the white band, whatever that is. You see that as tragic. The movie, I don't think, really wants you to see it that way, but indeed, one does.
Well, I'm a pansy.
It's true, baby.
So is that
That's about it.
That, yeah. Me too. Oof. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are we ready?
You want to get into it?
Let's get into it.
Let's talk about what isn't working.
Yes. So I just want to preface, I feel like I'm always giving little disclaimers and stuff on this show, but sorry, I'm going to do it again. I do need to preface this section of my critiques by saying I understand the shape or the tone that this movie is going for. This is an exploitation film. It is deliberately harsh, unpleasant, sleazy. That said, while I understand it, it's not working for me. It's profoundly not working for me. I feel that I have so little to latch on to. And I agree with you when you say the movie doesn't seem to think that the hardening of Father Guiteau and these sort of things that I see as tragic, the movie doesn't see it as tragic. It's fuck yeah, vampires. And I'm just by the end, I'm not there with it. Mm-hmm. I am my emotions are running counter to the desires of the movie pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, so the characters are almost completely despicable.
Yes.
Almost every one of them.
To a man, almost.
There are needless choices that are made that make it basically impossible to root for them. That don't have to be there.
Well, and in terms of it's not as though I can't appreciate a movie that's profoundly bleak or that, has difficult characters in it. Just as an example, obviously it's not the same exact genre, but something like Escape from New York, that's a bleak ass movie. A lot of bad things happen to characters that you come to care about. And I think there are parts of it you could explore, or rather you could call exploitation film-esque. And yet I love that movie and I don't love this one. Mm-hmm. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what it is. What is it in the gene sequencing that has gone awry here? Yeah.
I wouldn't call this an exploitation film, just because that's a specific term that has a really specific meaning.
Sure.
That I'm not exactly able to speak to here. But,
sure. That's what I kind of was seeing online, but, if maybe that isn't the best term to use. I don't know.
Well, exploitative, maybe. But why don't we harp in on Montoya?
Oof.
What do you think about that as a place to start?
Yeah.
So, Montoya... So I know a lot of people, in the little bit of criticism that I've read of this movie, a lot of people will pick on Montoya because he's played by Daniel Baldwin, who people see as a lesser Baldwin. And I am not. I don't really have a big problem with his performance, but it is easy to pick on him some because this role was originally going to be played by Alec Baldwin.
And you can kind of feel that.
Right. So, but Alec Baldwin dropped out of the movie and said, hey, perhaps another Baldwin might suffice. and
Would you accept another Baldwin in my place?
Indeed. That's very... It makes it hard not to make fun of Daniel Baldwin for that. I don't dislike him in his performance necessarily.
I kind of do.
I think there are some things that could be... There are some moments... All of these performances have moments where you could say, okay, we need to make a different choice here. But... what I don't like are the writing choices. So... It's everything to do with Katrina.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's like the black hole that just devours my liking for this movie.
It really does do a lot to burn through the goodwill. So there's this scene where they've taken her back. He has taken her back to a hotel room. And he has tied her down, face down to the bed.
Yeah.
Stripped her naked.
Yes.
Put duct tape over her mouth.
And left her uncovered.
And so he walks into the room, and the camera is basically making the audience and this character, Katrina, think that she's about to be raped by Montoya.
Yeah, he holds his body weight against her.
They shoot it just like that's about what's going to happen. Yeah. And I think I can imagine what they were going for there. Like it's some sort of like, oh, we're shooting this, but it's not that. He's not an asshole. It's not that. He's actually a heroic, more complicated character. But it is completely gratuitous and unnecessary. There's no redeeming it. Like once you put it on display like that, there's nothing to be gained from it.
I think, especially because of the camera angle, because the camera is quite low and level with Katrina's body, Cheryl Lee's body, we experience the scene from her perspective. She doesn't know what's about to happen to her.
Right.
You know, she has no idea.
Yeah,
so
and she's obviously horrified, which is
if you were tied down to a bed and naked, what would you think is about to happen to you?
Right. And of course it's performed by the great Cheryl Lee, so she completely sells it.
Who has the most soulful eyes.
So Daniel Baldwin is like this overweight, and he's schlubby, and he sort of walks in and swaggering like, oh no.
And he looks kind of like greasy and dirty, and also like, no offense to Daniel Baldwin the man, but he's kind of got a big dumb face.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he just looks like he's gonna throw a rock at a window or something, just at any given moment.
Sure.
I don't trust him with Katrina, and this film doesn't successfully convince me that he's like not going to molest her at some future time.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you know, of the two movies we've watched thus far, I haven't really been into or interested in the romance angle. But here, I hate it. I despise it.
Well, it's really bizarre. Because eventually, it's presented like Montoya is falling in love with Katrina.
And then it like dips in the middle where he seems to like hate and abuse her.
Yeah, so there are random moments throughout this whole movie where both Montoya and Jack Crow are cruel to her.
Excessively.
And for no, like they'll hit her or they'll shove her over.
Call her a bitch, call her a whore.
Yeah, things like that, which...
talk about killing her in front of her.
Right.
And up until the scene where they kiss in the very end, she looks afraid of him.
Yeah.
Like when he's sort of trying to comfort her in the Jeep much later in the movie, she's like,
she
moving away from him. Yeah.
Yeah, which that's complicated by her sort of fighting off the vampirism. In fact, you don't know what to make of it necessarily.
But it's still like the ambiguity of her response to him is really troubling.
Yeah.
I really don't like this. I don't believe it. I don't feel good about it by the end. I don't understand when they fell in love, they, quote unquote, they, or how it came to be. I was watching the movie. I was there and I did not see anyone falling in love. So by the end, when they're like running off into the sunset together, I'm like, okay, piss off. Leave me alone. Leave me out of this.
Yeah.
I don't need it or want it.
The whole thing's just so bizarre because it would be so... any other movie where, so she bites him, right? So he catches the infection from her, and so he's turning into a vampire himself. So any other movie, it's going to be him falling under her thrall, right?
Yeah.
And so viewed from that lens, it makes much more sense, but there's nothing there to support that.
Yeah.
At all.
We don't know that that's part of what the vampire bite does.
At all.
Yeah. And it's weird too because, towards the end of the movie, James Woods. Thank you. I doubted myself. At the end of the movie, he's like, yeah, you're obviously in love with her. Like, there's that kind of like, yeah, everyone can see it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, who can see it?
No shit.
I can't see it. The romance also creates another big problem in that it makes both Crowe's and Montoya's characterization feel wildly inconsistent from scene to scene.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I'm watching the movie jumbled up. Like, the scenes do not emotionally progress in a way that's consistent. Crowe starts out as like this cool, kind of collected guy who's a little bit apart from it all, attracted to Katrina, and then by the end of the movie, he's a coked out violent maniac. Whereas Montoya starts out as a crass, violent asshole, then swings between that and like being like this bizarrely tender romantic lead, but he kind of moves pendulum-like between the two states. I never know where he's gonna be. So the Katrina of it all, the romance of it all, is like this huge problem. It has cascading problems.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because like Cheryl Lee's performance is like one of the only things I care to watch in this movie.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a drag. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a real drag. I don't. It was misguided. I get that you want to paint a portrait of unlikable. I'm fine with the leads being unlikable.
Yeah,
that's okay. That really is okay. And I can be down for that. That's fine. But you gotta latch on to something.
Yeah.
Like you do want to have at least enough there that you root for the heroes, your lead characters to win, to accomplish their goal, right?
Yeah, and
which like, do we even want that to happen? Is that really what we want?
Yeah, and that's a spoiler alert, or like that's a little glimpse into the future of my revision.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was a question I was asking. Do I want them to succeed?
Do you want them to succeed?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's just, you can have like a jerk character, like a genuinely unlikable character who also doesn't like brutalize helpless women, who doesn't beat up priests continually, like gentle, not like, sleazy, creepy, yucky priest, but like a nice man.
That's occasionally funny. I'm just him continuing to beat up the priest can be fun.
Wow, you're gonna be canceled by the Catholic Church.
The original cancelers. So again, with the unlikable characters, so I think we've probably covered Montoya pretty well here, but let's linger on Jack some. I think one of the big moments that squandered there. So his whole team is killed, and he has to go back to the site of the hotel where the hotel massacre, right? And he discovers all the bodies, and that's a John Carpenter trademark for me. That's actually one of the things I really like about John Carpenter. That's a touch where, like, if a character dies, they don't usually just vanish from the story altogether.
Yeah, you'll see that shit again.
Yeah, so, like, the characters will go back and they'll re-see the bodies and they'll mourn, they'll be upset. Like, that's death is not lasts beyond the moment of its happening. In the John Carpenter
it's
movie.
not just it's not a temporary spectacle. It's like something that they have to reckon with later.
There's a continued sadness given to it. So we're going back to the site of the murders, and he pulls up all the bodies and stakes them and cuts their heads off and all that. And the way that it's played, I don't know if there's some kind of, I don't know if it's a flaw of editing. I don't know if there was a mistake that was made there. If it was just performance, maybe it was all intention, but He doesn't seem like he's so bothered by it. He seems like he's annoyed by it because it's a lot of work and it's gross.
And he's like tired.
Yeah, he's tired.
Yeah.
But he has to go through and stake everybody in the heart and chop all their heads off and set the hotel on fire, and which it shows in some detail. So I appreciate that. Yeah, that would be physically cumbersome to have to cut off everyone's heads. Like, who are all your friends?
I love too. Like at the end of it, he goes to bury the bag of heads, and he buries it in like the world's shallowest grave, and they're instantly dug up again. Yeah, he was like, I'm not doing this all day.
Montoya's watching it on the news later. He's like, we found it instantly.
I don't have the strength to dig a hole for 6 hours.
Yeah. So, in screenwriting, they have what's called a Save the Cat moment, which is from a book called Save the Cat, I think. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So, and in Save the Cat, basically, if you wanted to display a character who is unlikable, despicable, bad, whatever, if that person's your lead character, you got to give them a Save the Cat moment.
One good thing.
You got to give them something.
Yeah.
When it can be literally save the cat. Sometimes it is. Watch for that in movies. Like you'll watch your asshole lead character go save some kittens off the train tracks or whatever.
I like that person already.
This is an opportunity for him to show
any emotion.
Something.
Any emotion.
Yeah.
That's
like all of my best friends are all dead now.
Yeah,
and
it's not that I even hate him just being like, geez, I don't want to do this. Like I kind of am amused by
appreciate the physical. Yeah, no, that's not irrelevant. Yeah sure. Like,
but
just, Jesus Christ, what have I just had to go through?
I've
had a hell of a night.
I think you are right to point out, though, that would be a good moment for it if he was going to demonstrate any humanity.
Yeah. Any depth to him.
And okay, maybe this is not a detriment to the movie, or rather, maybe this is not a flaw of the movie. Maybe this is intentional. But like, I find his character to be just as sort of exploitative and vampiric as the actual vampires. He does not seem to like people. He seems to hate people. I don't know why he does this other than just like the desire to kill vampires. Mm-hmm. I don't think he does this for the good of anyone. And he just seems to like exploit people, use them, throw them away, which is interesting. I just don't, I wish the movie were framed differently about this character or around this character.
I like some stuff with Father Guito when they're in the jail at the end of the movie. It's such a small moment that it's kind of easy to miss. I'm not sure I've ever really registered it, but the way that it's structured, I'll try and explain it because it's a little weird, but basically they're on the top floor of a jail and they have to send Father Guito down an elevator to the bottom floor, and James Woods, Jack Crow, is on the top watching the security feed. They're trying to lure vampires out of the lower levels where they're hiding because they're out of the sunlight. Yeah. So I think he goes down in the elevator and he looks up at the camera. Guito does, knowing that Jack Crow is watching, can't see him, of course, but he stops and he waves at the camera, and Jack Crow waves back.
Oh, he does?
It's a security panel.
I think I missed that.
Yeah, it's super easy to miss.
That's kind of cute.
There's so much bullshit. Like the movie really lingers on how awful all these people are. That it's like the one human moment that they have.
I wish I had like internalized that.
Yeah.
I think that would help me with this.
Give him a little something. Yeah.
Too bad it comes at like the 11th hour in the movie.
When you've basically decided how you feel about every character in this movie.
Well, and like, you know, I don't know that I really buy the relationship that develops between Crow and Guito, because like if I were Father Guito and someone beat the shit out of me 3 times and threatened to kill me, pulled me out of a car, pushed me to the ground, punched me, hit me in the head with a rotary phone,
it's so hard,
stabbed me in the hand, I don't think I would be buddies with this person by the end.
Gosh, when you spell it all out like that, it's so ridiculous.
So, like, honestly, and this is just my personal taste, but like I hate the like machismo bullshit that James Woods' character seems so steeped in. You know, like I am the master and I dominate you and you do as I say or else I will use an object to hit you. I will berate you. I will call you names. Like, I just find it so, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't get it out of here. I don't want it in front of me.
Sure.
And like, again, I know the movie is not, it's not an accident that it's this way. It's experimenting with something. It's just that it doesn't work for me.
Sure.
Okay, wait, sorry. One more thing, and I
Okay.
promise you can talk for 50 minutes if you want. Why is Crow obsessed with penises and erections? Constantly talking about erect penises and, boners and just boned out penises. Also, the constant...
You're saying penis way too much.
I know. We're going to get demonetized.
It's not that. No, nobody should ever say that twice in a sentence.
I'm sorry. But, like, that's as much as he is talking about, big rods. I don't know. And then also, like, there's constant homophobia from him. He uses the F slur. I'm like, I'm so sick of this guy.
Yeah, it was the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know, you're just as likely to hear, unfortunately, that slur in, like, just about any other action movie from the period or horror movie or whatever, but I still don't like it,
Right.
But I'm like, why is there so much penis-based shit talking? Do you know?
No, I didn't ask him.
I wish someone would.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
It feels bizarre to me.
Unfortunately, I've known people in my life who like that. That I don't like that. That is off-putting as a lead character, but
I hate that that's like a type.
That's a type, yeah. Yeah,
well,
sure.
I wish it wasn't.
It's true.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You were going to say something before I launched into that.
I thought I'd talk some about the conflicts between some of the characters. Mostly Jack and Montoya, really.
Yeah, please.
Because the dialogue reads strangely some of the time. They'll have so if you have a fight, right? If two people have a fight, you have a point and a counterpoint. You didn't take out the dishes, or you didn't take out the garbage. You didn't wash the dishes, right? There's that sort of one person says something and the other says the other. They're usually contradicting each other, or there's some kind of call and response that's happening there. The fights that they have in this movie don't make any damn sense. So when they get angry and they yell at each other, it's like somebody said, "Okay, at this point in the script, we need to start having tension between the characters. What can they fight about? I don't know."
Yeah.
Okay. So, outside of the hotel, Montoya says, well, rule number 5, don't bury the team alone, or whatever the vampire lore rules say. And Crow says, oh, you can quit being a vampire hunter if you want. Like, this counterpoint doesn't make any sense.
They're
like,
kind
what
of
are they?
non sequiturs.
Yeah, which... That can be okay, actually, because that's the other version of fights, which is... people
are just on completely different wavelengths.
You didn't take the garbage out. Yeah, well, you don't love me anymore. Like that,
right.
or you didn't take the garbage out. Yeah, well, you just think a lot of the time fights don't really work in that way because people just don't... They're unable to say what they mean to each other. But that's because real people have interiority, which... If you have a successful script and you've spent time with these characters and you understand these characters have interiority, you can do that. But these characters don't have that.
No.
Like, they haven't demonstrated that. So, like, in a really mature script, you could have the same fight happen and you not even worry about it. You wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
You'd accept it much more easily. But because of both where it is in the story, because we haven't spent much time with them, and because of how little of sort of a rich interior life that they've so far demonstrated, you just don't accept it. It doesn't read properly.
Yeah, like, there are certain characters in this that I'm willing to believe have rich interior lives, like Cheryl Lee, just from the strength of her facial acting, to me, implies that.
Yeah.
But we don't really get to know anyone.
Yeah.
Beyond
the tasks that they're given in the sake of the movie.
Beyond what the scenes require of them.
Right.
And that's a shame because... I feel like this movie would be so ripe for more sincerely investigated emotional conflicts. You know, like, yeah, sure, show me like a thrall falling in love with the fledgling vampire who bit him.
Sure.
You know, I love that. I'm into that. Show me like a genuinely difficult person whose whole life has been organized around the single object of killing vampires and how hard it is to be around this person. Show me that. It's just like, this doesn't really show me that.
Right.
This just shows me a bunch of characters I don't really like.
Again, another conflict later between the two of them. Jack is surprised when Montoya defends Katrina.
Yeah.
Which, so are we. we the audience, are surprised by it. Like, where is this love coming from? But he's so surprised by it. Again, they haven't done the work for us, the audience, to accept that. So, of course, Jack's surprised. But again, it feels like we're inserting conflict into the story. Yeah. I think partially because the cast is actually really rather small.
They need something to do.
Yeah, so after the team of vampire slayers is killed in the hotel scene, which is really early in the movie, right? After that happens, your cast is Jack Crow, Montoya, Katrina,
and
Valak, and Gito.
And Alba.
And then later on, Alba. But that's 5. And usually 3 or 4 of them are on screen at a time. And, and Valak, it'll cut to him, and he's just running around making vampire sounds. But otherwise, but that's about it, right? So the 4 of them are there. So there's no one external to have conflict with. So they engineer conflict between the characters, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it just comes off ultimately as Crow just like picking fights.
Right.
And just pushing and pushing and pushing people and like snapping into violence for no reason, which is a shame. Because I don't think it would take much to believe like, okay, the group's tired, they're exhausted, 2 of them are turning into vampires, they are, you know, weary from just like how horrible their lives are and the things that they have to do. You know, like the conflict arises from 2 people being tired of each other, you know, real, organic, interesting conflict. I think if the script had just been a little bit more elegant, you know, you could extract a lot of human drama.
Sure.
Actually, you remind me of something. I didn't even put it on my list, but I do want to talk about it. Why in the world does Crow not realize instantly that Montoya has been bitten?
Yeah, that's one of my issues with this. Actually, related to that, I'm going to go a little further down on my list of bullet points here. But Jack Crow knows everything and nothing.
Yes.
So he's always suspicious, but never enough to actually get information. So he's suspicious enough to be cruel to everybody on screen, but that's it.
Yeah, like he'll antagonize people constantly, but he's always like, okay.
But he never actually changes the direction of the plot.
And I wished in the moment of watching, you know, in situ, that like we understood, like, oh, it's not that he doesn't realize what's happening to Montoya, it's that he is desperate not to realize that it's happening. You know, like he's like, I just lost my whole team. I cannot lose you too.
Sure.
Like if he's willfully blind to it. You know, again, more human drama that you could play with. But no, he just comes off as like inattentive or I don't know, not the brightest.
Instead, we just get exposition dumps.
Oh, so many.
Repeated.
So many.
Can I run through this list?
Yes.
So here's where I think before I get into the list, here's where I think we went awry. I think that this is a script that was worked and reworked and reworked and reworked. And so crucial information was given to the audience at different points in the story, in different versions of the script. And so they Frankenstein together different pieces of different scripts. I don't know this. This is just a theory. But they Frankenstein together different versions of the script where information was distributed at different points. And so what it became in the final version is information being trickle-fed, but really just being restated constantly.
Constantly recapitulated.
Yeah. So, the first version of this, so plot reveals. The priest and the cardinal hide the meaning of the symbol, which will later reveal to be Remember the Sun, though it reveals nothing when it's given. The master is searching for something, but Jack already knows about a black cross and something about walking in the sunlight. Then we pivot to character exposition. Jack's parents were killed by vampires, and he was raised to be their master slayer. Then back to plot. Later on, they reveal about the Black Cross again, simultaneously with Valak finding it, which I do like that intercut sequence. Mm-hmm. That's great. But we're holding back on what he wants it for. So we know he wants it, but we don't know why. So back to character exposition. Jack killed his parents. Next scene. So right after that, they reveal that the Black Cross is the means to complete the ritual. So we have both. So basically, here's the problem. You get told about the Black Cross. Mm-hmm. Then you get told about the Black Cross again. But now it's confirmed that Valak wants it. And that the priest was keeping it separate. Or secret, excuse me. And then we get to the scene of where the location where the Black Cross was stolen from. And he says, oh, by the way, you know about it already, but Valak wants it, which you also already know about already. Mm-hmm. But here's what he's going to do with it. Yeah. Because no one ever bothered to ask. Here's why he wants this fucking cross.
Just so you know.
Just so you know. I'm just now going to reveal the stakes.
It's like Clippy. Like, it looks like you'd like to know what Valak wants with the cross. Mm-hmm. And, like, from the logic of film, the second that Alba says, like, oh, you know, he was risen as a vampire, but the ritual was half complete. Like, we know that it's about the ritual. The second the cross of Berzier is brought up for the first time, we know that's what he wants. So why spend all this time belaboring
why
the
hide
exposition?
It at all? But not only that, if you're going to have the cardinal do a heel face turn, which, fine, if you want to have a secret villain in the movie, that's okay, but why is he hiding this information that we, the audience, can extrapolate on our own if... unless you just want us to think that the cardinal is going to turn evil, which he clearly is.
Well, there's no other characters who can do it.
Precisely. That's the limits of having such a small cast. If the story needs somebody to go bad, there's only so many choices. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of them's been tied to a bed the whole time. Right. So I don't think it's her. Yeah. And then, like, you know, if they had tidier dialogue, as we've been sort of lamenting this whole time, you might get away with some of that exposition. Like, it wouldn't feel so clunky. Mm-hmm. But you always have James Woods, the Jack Crow character, being like, what the fuck are you talking about? The cross on Berzier? Like, he's like freaking out at every stage hearing this information. Yeah. Like he's never heard it before.
Right. And even, also, look, you need to, if you're coming into a new world with new rules, then you have to explain that shit somehow. I mean, the information has to be communicated. There are more and less graceful ways of doing it. But one way that's not so great is when somebody explains something to somebody who should know. So, when Jack Crow says, hey, we can use this woman as our psychic connection to do that, he shouldn't be saying that to Montoya. Montoya knows that. Yeah. Like, he should understand that. Yes. She doesn't know that, which Montoya then explains it to her.
A second time.
Why did that happen?
This feels like some script 101 stuff to me.
Right.
Like someone, you know, did, like, it was like Vampire's script or screenplay, like final brackets, final brackets, really the final one this time version. Someone was very tired when this script went, like, live.
Again, that's why I think this is Franken's script.
I totally agree. I
don't know that, of course, but
because, you know, we know, like, John Carpenter is the king of directing, like, a Spartan script. Like, think of something like The Thing. No word is wasted in that movie. Not a single word. So here I'm like, okay, all right, you know, we needed to whittle this down a little bit. to make room for things that I would rather see instead happening on screen. And like, okay, I may be stealing this joke from the podcast I Hate It But I Love It. My apologies if I am, but I kept thinking like Guiteau particularly seems like he is rushing to get through all the expository dialogue that he has to say in a scene. Like, oh, well, the cross of Berthier, oh, but the icon, oh, and Jan Valek was it's the first man-made vampire. Oh, like, he, like, can't get it out quickly enough because there's so much that he has to say. Which I'm like, oh, geez, you know, it's a lot for one character to have to manage.
Can we talk lore?
Yeah.
World building?
World build.
So Katrina asks at one point, why doesn't anybody know about vampires? What's the deal? How are they living secretly? And Montoya says, vampires are smart. They keep their numbers low. You know, they move from place to place. Yeah, that whole thing, right? Vampires aren't smart. They're savage animals.
They live in the dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
I wasn't even asking that question, but now that you've asked it yourself and given me the answer, I'm not satisfied by it.
Are they maybe saying like master vampires?
That's one other thing. So they have masters. In the lingo of the movie, they have master vampires and goons.
Yes. I don't like the word goons.
Sure.
It just feels dorky.
Okay.
Sorry. Side note.
That's fine. But there's no means of really demonstrating how they're different from one another.
We don't get the chance to see it.
Yeah, because they just all do the same things. So, I mean, the movie tells us that the masters are stronger, but it doesn't really... One of them snaps the winch cable at one point. That's it. That's the extent of what a master, like the difference is between a goon and a master.
To give the movie like the tiniest little bit of credit, it almost seems like the master vampires have a little bit more presence of mind.
Well, so that was the thing. In my revision, I didn't deal with this, but that was one thing I was thinking was, well, maybe the goons are like kind of mindless animals, and the masters can speak and are intelligent and do that. But the movie doesn't show us that.
No.
I mean, you get Jan Valek, the lead villain, he talks, but he's the only vampire who ever speaks.
Yeah, it's odd.
When Katrina turns, I don't think she ever speaks again. She just screams.
And hisses. And,
yeah.
Yeah. So when Daniel Baldwin is running away with Cheryl Lee, or rather when Montoya is running away with Katrina, I'm like, it's like you're running away with a rabid animal from what I have seen. Right. Like, is she just going to chew on you some more, or are you just going to go be feral together? Right. Or like, what's the hope? You know, like she wanted to die from the very beginning, so why are you making a big deal out of trying to live?
So the masters and goons thing is a big part of the lore, but what's the difference? That's a problem.
It is not delineated.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
But additionally, Catholicism is a problem for this movie. That's part of the lore of this world building. So the characters actually admit they know God is real.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and yet, except the cardinal at the end of the movie turns evil because his faith is shattered. He's like, oh, well, maybe I'll die and that'll be that. But the characters know that God exists. Well, so why is he turning? He's like, oh, I'm going to go to heaven. I've helped kill vampires forever, and you know.
There is such an easy workaround to this, which would be him saying something like, "I no longer trust in the goodness of God," you know, or like I no longer, like my heart is no longer with God, or something. I simply want. Like
you could go for some.
I want the pleasures of mammon or something.
Faith-based thing that would, some complicated like, Catholic doubt.
Yeah, how do you have a crisis of faith when you know God's is real?
Yeah,
that's why
the movie establishes that all the characters know that God exists, and they even say, "But we don't understand Him."
Well, and like the movie's bleak enough that it's like, okay, God's real, but He never intervenes. He never helps. He never saves anyone. So why should I believe, or like why should I live in service to Him?
Guiteau actually says like God was always with us, and Crow kind of comes around on it. It's like, oh, fair enough, Padre. So he does give him at least that much.
Sure. It's just like it gets itself into this weird theological territory that it feels unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Ugh. I hadn't really thought so much about that, but that's silly.
Yeah.
That's just silly.
Yeah. I have one last thing, actually. I'm done.
I think I have one thing after that, and then shall we revise?
All right. Why don't you go first?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Mine is a structural thing. I have a lot of problems with the climax and the ending of this movie. So the dark ritual, the reason that Jan Valak needs the Berzier cross, there's a lot of build up to it, and then it just kind of misfires. Like, the ritual never really gets to complete, so you never see, like, cool, crazy vampire stuff happening. You just have, like, a normal vampire fight as the denouement. But also, like, Cardinal Alba gets revealed as, like, the quote-unquote true villain, the informant who got the team killed, who has been working against Jack Crow secretly the whole time. And he's kind of killed without a second thought. Like he's sniped. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing feels like a real damp squib to me because I just don't find the resulting fight with Valak to be spectacular enough to warrant undercutting the ritual.
Sure.
I find that the ending bores me, and then like the double whammy is that it offends me with the presence of the romance. So overall, like the last bit of the movie does not work for me.
Sure.
Yeah, but that was what I was going to say.
I can see what you're saying there, and it's not the biggest set piece.
Yeah, like especially when you're coming off of like that super exciting opening set. Like to me, that is more exciting.
And the hotel
than the
massacre.
Yeah, that's good too.
That's also very good
too. I like the set of like the jail and the elevator shaft stuff. That's fun, but it's like I think the end scene is the weakest action wise. And also, okay, I had this thought because the final action scene where like they're sort of mopping up some of the lesser vampires uses a lot of slow-mo, a lot of time-lapse. There's one part that sort of implies action by using like slow-mo cam to make it look like a 1990s music video.
Yeah.
And I was like, did the movie run out of money? Like, could they not film a big sort of knockdown, drag-out fight? Like, what is happening here? Like, why do I feel like I'm at a rave or something?
I've actually, a lot of the time, especially in the hotel, I didn't bring this up because, again, this is kind of purely visual thing that's hard to talk about on an audio medium such as this, but in the hotel massacre, there's lots of weird edits like that.
Yeah.
Weird, like, screen flashing red, like implied blood and violence, or it cuts.
It bothered me less in the hotel massacre and much more in the climax because I'm like, no, like you can't imply that they're killing the vampires. This is the end of the movie.
I don't know this obviously, but I thought maybe it was them trying to get away from like trying to score an R rating.
Oh,
yeah, I thought it was a censorship thing.
Like that would be interesting. They
didn't want to get marked as NC-17.
I mean, what
separates? That is a very violent sequence.
It is
right at the beginning of the movie.
And maybe I just don't understand the MPAA, but like,
no one does.
What's the difference between killing like 39 vampires and 40 vampires? You know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, I know, like that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're here to implement change wise. It's just something that I was like, okay, all right, come on. What is your last critique?
I have a little bit of a plot hole.
Oh, tell me.
So, Jack has to live to be the sacrificed crusader at the end of the movie. They have to burn him at the stake. They have to do all that stuff, right? Which, I like the crusader stuff, the fact that he calls him I think that's interesting. But, why is everybody trying to kill him through the whole movie? So what if he's dead?
Oh my God.
Alba doesn't know. So there's no point where I didn't mention it in the summary because there's no point where it really is relevant, but there's no surprise but Jack Crow tells the Catholic Church that the whole team of Slayers is dead. So he thinks Montoya is dead, that all of them are dead.
Oh, yeah.
So there's so as far as Alba and the Catholic Church know, Jack Crow is the only living
last Slayer.
And
sure.
so they spend the whole, but like people are trying to kill Jack Crow throughout this movie. And so they had, we need you to be alive because you're the only person in the whole world we can sacrifice.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, but that's really funny actually.
Is he only secretly under threat, or are the vampires not actually going to kill him? Or are they going to kill?
Maybe they're going to capture him or something.
And maybe they just don't know. He doesn't know that. Like,
okay. Also, was it just me, or do they cut his like femoral artery?
No, they cut him across the thigh.
I
think.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not like in the interior part where the femoral artery
I
is.
see.
Because that he died. Like,
yeah, I was like, why is he still
30
alive?
seconds or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting up, he's walking around,
Yeah.
With his little torn jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah. Oh, I think a lot of action-y, horror-y things have a similar thing. Like, we need you, but we are gonna really put you through the ringer first. Which maybe the answer is, like, they're going for a TPK and not, like, to kill him, but, we don't know that.
Yeah.
That's you being generous to the movie. Well,
that's all I had.
I feel like this movie is now riddled with puncture marks that we've left. Should we,
All right. Well, if you're ready, I'm going to go hit a priest with a rotary telephone, and then I'll be back with my revision.
Okay, I got to kind of tight line my eyelashes and then swipe Urban Decay's Lounge all over the upper lid. And then I'll be back with my revision. So for my revision, the first paragraph or so, that opening scene is unchanged. And that's all. I changed pretty much everything else, so I'll just dive right into it. While Crow's team parties back at the motel, Crow cannot stop thinking about the master vampire. When prostitute Katrina propositions him, he rebuffs her coldly. Stung by his cruelty, Katrina decides to ditch the party early, and she steps into the night. Under the light of a street lamp, she is bitten by a hidden vampire, and she recoils in pain and ecstatic delight. The vampire says he pities her and has given her a precious gift to hold close in this lonely world. He departs, heading towards the motel. The vampire attacks the partying Slayers, massacring the entire team and demonstrating his terrifying abilities. He moves silently, strikes instantly, and shrugs off attacks that would stop any lesser vampire. Crow knows this is the missing master, and he seems to know Crow by name. Crow narrowly escapes, along with his badly injured partner, Montoya. As they make a break for it, they discover Katrina lying by the roadside, barely conscious. Crow rescues her, remarking that now she will finally be good for something. We now turn to Cardinal Alba, who sits in a lavish private garden with Father Guiteau, a young archivist of the Catholic Church. They drink tea and discuss theology. The topic is the final judgment, specifically what will become of the earth after the battle of heaven and hell is finally concluded. Alba banters playfully, Guiteau with an earnest expression. A bloodied and angry Crow bursts through the door, interrupting their debate. Crow reports on the slaughter to Alba, his superior. Upon hearing the news, the cardinal reveals a 14th century icon depicting a dark-haired man. He asks Crow whether this was the figure he saw at the motel. A stunned Crow says they are one and the same. Alba confirms the master to be Jan Valak, a disgraced priest who led a revolt against the church during the Great Occidental Schism of 1378. Valak was executed, though he was summoned back to life as the first known man-made intelligent vampire and the most powerful. Alba informs Crow that several other teams of slayers have been wiped out, likely by Valak, and that he is the last slayer alive. The Cardinal suspects that Valak is searching for an unholy relic. Alba tasks Father Guiteau, who is academically gifted but lacks field experience, with helping Crow pursue Valak. Alba orders Crow to rebuild his team with new members. Crow refuses, despite the warning that his funding will be forfeit. Incensed, Crow demands to know how Valak knew him by name. He storms out with a worried Guiteau in pursuit, nearly abandoning the young priest until he remembers Katrina and Montoya need medical care that Crow has no time to provide himself. Father Guiteau is distressed when he sees the injured passengers. Crow commands him to provide what aid he can to Montoya as they drive back to the scene of the slaughter. For now, Crow and Montoya must bury the dead, or else they will rise as fledgling vampires. Father Guiteau is concerned also for the barely conscious Katrina, but Crow explains he may be able to use her to hunt Valak, as master and victim retain a psychic link before the victim's eventual transformation. It is clear from Crow's attitude that he has little regard for Katrina's safety. The quartet arrive back at the blood-soaked motel. Crow tells Montoya to help him bury the team, while Guiteau checks into a nearby hotel, tends to Katrina, and awaits their return. Montoya tries to do this, but nearly faints when he puts weight on his injuries, so Guiteau offers to help in Montoya's stead, hoping to give last rites to the fallen. Crow is skeptical that Guiteau will be able to handle himself, but eventually he relents. As Montoya and Katrina drive off, Slayer and Priest set about their grisly task. A shocked Guiteau prays fervently as Crow stakes, beheads, and burns his former teammates. Crow taunts the young priest and berates him for being scared to get his hands dirty. Guiteau scrambles to help. After an exhausting ordeal, they drive away. Guiteau tries to make nice with Crow, sharing that he has been eager to meet Crow ever since he learned how Crow was orphaned at a young age in a vampire attack, and because of his meteoric ascent to Slayer mastery. A seething Crow pulls over, drags Guiteau from the car, and beats him. Putting a gun to his head, he demands Guiteau confess to being Valak's informant, but Guiteau swears he knows nothing. He is only here at Alba's request to track down relics of the Catholic Church. After letting Guiteau up, Crow begrudgingly asks to hear more about the missing relics. Guiteau explains his background is in recovering holy and profane relics missing for the past millennium. There are 3 of particular interest: the Gehenna icon, the Cross of Berzier, and the sole surviving copy of the fabled Gramarye of the Sundered Gate. Crow shows him a map marked with locations of vampire nests over the years, which suggest a search pattern. Crow mentions rumors of a jeweled black cross that could apparently grant vampires the means to walk in sunlight. Guiteau says this could be the Cross of Berzier, which was apparently used in evil rituals during the Great Schism. The 2 men conjecture that perhaps this was the very object that transformed Valak into a vampire, and they decide to work on the assumption that this is what Valak seeks. The other 2 relics seem less likely. The Gehenna icon is said to curse the bearer, whereas the Gramarye is thought to contain an obscure form of weather magic. Meanwhile, a woozy Katrina awakes in a hotel room, tied to the bed, though not naked, by Montoya. She screams for help, but after some combination of threats and reassurance, Montoya explains that she is the victim of a vampire's bite, and now she must serve as the Slayer's informant. She balks, but Montoya explains the nature of the infection to her. After revealing that Katrina's friends died back at the motel, and that she is likely to turn into a vampire herself, Montoya, looking drawn and pale, explains that if they kill the master before she turns, she has a shot at surviving. But until then, they must use their psychic link. As Katrina's infection progresses, she begins having vivid visions from Valak's point of view as he enters a church, killing its cleaning lady and abducting its priest. Distraught, Katrina attempts to jump out the window ledge to end her life before Montoya stops her. In the struggle, Montoya cuts his arm. Seeing his blood, Katrina bites him, but she promptly spits up, horrified, saying that Montoya's blood tastes of death. It dawns upon her, Montoya has already been bitten. A panicked Montoya strikes her and ties her down once more. When Katrina regains consciousness, Montoya threatens her to keep his secret, or else he will kill her himself. Crow and Guiteau arrive shortly thereafter and see the signs of the struggle. Though suspicious, Crow does not realize that Montoya is bitten. Frightened for Katrina, Guiteau threatens to call the cardinal, but Crow attacks him to get him to back down. Katrina awakens to a vision of Valak interrogating the abducted priest, who shows Valak a location on a map. Valak then beheads the priest. In the moment of the killing, he seems to become aware that he is being watched. He smiles to Katrina, entreating her to join him if she can find him. He whispers a clue. "My dear spousess is a garden altogether enclosed, yea, a secret garden, a garden altogether enclosed and a sealed well." Katrina repeats the lines. A stunned Father Guiteau says the words are from the Song of Solomon. Before the vision fades, Katrina sees a sign on the highway, giving them some location to go on. With that, Guiteau calls on his connections in the church to search for missing priests in the area. The next morning, Crow and Guiteau investigate the church where the priest was abducted. Seeing the bloody scene, Guiteau steps into the church's cemetery to collect himself, Crow berating him for his weakness all the while. Guiteau sees a figure with a heavy parasol kneeling before a large mausoleum. Curious, he approaches the figure. It is Valak. He pulls Guiteau into the mausoleum, and they face off among the moldering bones. Valak reveals that he saw Guiteau's face through Katrina's eyes, and that he wishes to talk to him because he has the mind of a scholar, not a beast. Valak explains that the crypt belonged to an old friend of his who lived during settler times, a priest with whom he shared lively spiritual debates. Seeing Guiteau's surprise, Valak explains that in his 600-year exile, he never lost his faith. It saddens him to think that the human heart has grown deadened to spiritual beauty, with some lost to base pleasures and others sunken in the overwhelming ugliness of life. Valak followed westward expansion with great interest. Watching humanity eke out day after wretched day in a land so brutal it seemed to obliterate history itself, leaving behind only bleached bones. Surely Guiteau, as an archivist, must understand the terror of that place. Valak makes him a proposition. If Guiteau helps him perform a holy ritual that will bring a kinder world into being, Valak will give him the gift of vampirism in return. Valak asks Guiteau to think on it and disappears. A bewildered Guiteau rejoins Crow. Back at the motel, Montoya grows increasingly unstable as the infection strengthens within him. Katrina realizes he may lose control, and soon. Her own urges are growing increasingly difficult to deny, and she fades in and out of visions. Through their bond, Valak comforts her, urging her not to fear this slavering shell of a mind. Montoya hits his limit and attacks the bound Katrina, who fights back. Valak, looking through her eyes, helps her to fend Montoya off. Crow and Guiteau burst back into the room mid-fight. Crow sees that Montoya is turning. After a moment's hesitation, he executes his friend on the spot, though clearly it torments him to do so. Crow accuses Katrina of turning Montoya, but she exclaims that he was already bitten by the time she regained consciousness. Knowing they must now flee the scene, the three run to their vehicles. Crow viciously refuses all attempts at comfort and speeds off alone, with Guiteau and Katrina following behind. Guiteau and Katrina make pained conversation. Katrina reveals that her life has been one agony after another, and that she wishes she could be born anew. Guiteau provides what spiritual counsel he can, knowing it is likely of little comfort to someone whose soul is now damned. As they head for the place from Katrina's vision, she has a new vision of Valak rising from the desert sand, flanked by 7 master vampires. The vampires approach a Benedictine monastery, whose monks ring the bell and close the gates. Valak calls out to the monks, "Give us the West, the land of the setting sun. Only sinners know the true value of paradise. Only my people could make so barren a place beautiful again." Guiteau realizes it was never the cross of Berzier that Valak wanted. It was the gramarye of the Sundered Gate, which may have the power to create the Garden of Eden anew. Guiteau signals for Crow to pull over. He shares Valak's location, but not his realization about the holy relic. It is obvious that the priest is holding something back, so Crow pulls Guiteau to the side and attacks him yet again. Guiteau says that Crow won't kill him, as he believes him to be a righteous man, but Crow reveals that he killed his own father when he turned into a vampire. If he could do that, he'd have no trouble killing the priest. Guiteau's resolve shatters, and he admits that Valak is likely searching for the gramarye, not the Black Cross. As he explains what Valak may be planning, we see Katrina's visions of Valak and the master vampires attacking and brutally murdering the monks in the monastery, and of Valak reclaiming the gramarye. The gentle father is disturbed but moved by Valak's plan to restore the Southwest to a beautiful prelapsarian haven, even if it's one for vampires. At first he resists the idea, but it is difficult, for the only other option seems to be the world of brutal ugliness and destruction offered by Crow. The next day, the group search for Valak using Katrina's psychic link, which leads them to the site of the massacred monastery. After an agitated Crow is cruel to Katrina, Father Guiteau comforts her, earning yet more scorn from the slayer. Crow, Guiteau, and the rapidly deteriorating Katrina track Valak to a sun-bleached ghost town. They deduce that the town's tiny population must have been converted into a large nest of vampires, likely sheltering in the town's sturdiest building, the former jail. Guiteau promises Katrina that no matter what happens, he will not let Crow hurt her. Crow and a wavering Guiteau concoct a plan to use Guiteau as bait to lure the vampires up an elevator shaft, where they will harpoon them and yank them into the sunlight. They successfully kill several master vampires within view of a distraught Katrina. As the sun sets, they realize that they lack the time to finish their task. Before they can leave, the vampires wake and attack the group, forcing Guiteau and Katrina to hide and knocking Crow unconscious. Crow awakens beaten and tied. Cardinal Alba reveals himself as the traitor, admitting he fears death and seeks vampiric immortality. In exchange, he has agreed to perform the gramarye's rites. He laughingly reveals that his faith has failed him, a revelation that displeases Valak. Crow attempts to provoke Valak into a duel, but Katrina returns, now fully transformed, and Valak seems to have the upper hand. Alba explains that Crow must be immolated to mollify the angel with the burning sword who once shut Eden's gates. As he is about to be set alight, Crow stabs Cardinal Alba with a knife hidden in his boot. An impassive Valak calls out to Guiteau, who emerges from hiding, visibly tormented. Valak asks him whether he will show courage or whether he will succumb to the same fears as Crow, killing what he does not understand and banishing paradise from the earth for a second time. As the blood-famished Katrina fights for her sanity, Guiteau agonizes over his choice. Valak ultimately frees Crow, and they duel to see whose vision of the future of the Southwest will triumph. As the sun begins to rise, Crow stakes Valak. The vampire collapses, weeping bloody tears for the death of his beautiful dream. But then, Katrina emerges from the shadows and bites out Crow's throat. As Crow expires, Guiteau tells him that his long fight is at last over, and he can now rest. Guiteau hurriedly finishes the ritual and sets Crow's corpse alight. As the Gramarye's magic makes the desert ripple to life, Gito takes Katrina's hand and they walk together into a lush garden, bursting with foliage that blocks out the cruel sun. A new paradise on earth. Grievously wounded but smiling, Jan Valak welcomes them in with open arms. The end.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your bad guys win.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're not even maybe the bad guys. I mean, they're a little bad.
Yeah, sure.
But they're not full bad.
So, what I think is interesting about this is an exercise. Mm-hmm. Really, the sort of the thrust of this is, okay, so if we talk about something and we identify problems, and we agree on what the problems are, as we tend to. Mm-hmm. And then we both approach the work. How can we fix it?
In an attempt to resolve the problems.
Independently of each other.
Yeah.
How alike is the result?
Yeah.
If we agree on what the problems are.
Mm-hmm.
So far, the answer is not terribly alike.
Mm-hmm.
This case is, in our case here, we're rather alike.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
not
exciting.
Not the same, but rather alike. So the whole time is like, oh, you took that? Yeah, you emphasized that. Oh, me too. Okay. So yeah, that's all great. Obviously, you tend to have a lot of fun with the fact that you don't have to worry about a budget.
Yeah, why should I? I'm
exactly.
the writer.
Yeah, it's not your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will say that I do hew closer to the original movie.
Sure.
Than you do.
It's just not my prerogative as I'm working.
No, yeah.
You know? But I think it's a noble task to try and retain the spirit of what the movie is.
Sure. I will say I maybe made this movie even crueler.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Again, I like the sort of
this already despicable movie.
I know.
Crueler.
Well, and I honestly I can approve of leaning into it if it's done in the right spirit. For me, I'm so seduced by the admixture of like horror, cruelty, and like beauty and tenderness at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like I think I'm very much working in the Anne Radcliffe vein of like beauty sleeping in the lap of horror. That's my guiding pole star, I guess. Mm. What do you think of my revision? Would you watch this movie?
Of course. I've watched that movie.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I watched John Carpenter's Vampires. Of course I'd watch the thing that's better than it.
Oh, look, I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I cannot wait to hear what you've done to see the sort of sibling similarities that we've come up with.
All right. Shall I get into
it? Please.
Okay. So, first thing, I won't linger on this point, but opening, the same. Mm-hmm. Exactly the same. I wouldn't change anything about the hotel sequence, except that the Crow doesn't... the only real change there is that rather than verbally talking to all of his pals, like, oh, the master, where'd he go? Just let your performance carry that. You can tell that your leader's distracted. That's fine. You don't need to verbalize that. Additionally, Valak does not identify Jack Crow by name.
Okay.
So that's a cut.
Sure.
But I don't need to read the whole paragraph just for that. So, on to the real meat of the revision.
Oof.
The group drives through the night to get as far away from the master as possible until the sun rises, at which point they feel it is safe to turn around and return to the motel. Montoya drops Crow off at the site of the hotel massacre after a discussion of whether he can handle what he is about to do, but a saddened Crow explains that it is his final responsibility to his team. He sets about his grisly task of beheading his former team members, staking them through their hearts and burning their bodies to prevent any of them from later reanimating as vampires. After completing the grueling work, he stops in his vehicle before driving away after his rosary hanging from the rearview mirror catches his eye, prompting him to mutter a half-hearted and half-believed prayer, which he drops after a moment with a look of disgust. Crow then reports to Cardinal Alba, his superior in the Catholic Church, though their relationship is strained by Crow's insubordinate attitude. The cardinal assigns to him a young priest, Father Gito, who is academically gifted, but without direct experience in the field. After viewing a painted icon depicting the Master Vampire, Alba confirms the Master to be Jan Valak, a disgraced priest who led a rebellion against the church some 600 years ago, leading to his execution, though he rose again through a botched exorcism, the first known vampire and the most powerful. Alba informs Crow that several other teams have been wiped out, likely by Valak, and that he is the only slayer remaining. They believe that Valak is searching for the Black Cross of Berzier, the instrument through which his failed exorcism was performed, and with which Father Guito believes that he can complete the ritual, enabling him to walk in the sunlight. Alarmed, Crow wants to continue his pursuit of Valak, but Alba orders Crow to rebuild his team with new members, as Crow is the only remaining slayer, and if he dies, there is no hope to battle Valak or any other vampire again without starting anew. Crow storms out. Katrina awakes in a hotel room, tied to the bed, but not naked, by Montoya. She screams for help, but after some combination of threat and reassurance, Montoya explains that she is the victim of a vampire's bite, and that she is bait. After breaking the news that Katrina's friends died back at the hotel, and that she is likely to turn into a vampire herself, Montoya also explains that if they kill the Master before she turns, she has a shot at surviving, but until then they must use their connection. As they drive away, Guito tries awkwardly to make nice with Crow. Crow asks what Guito knows of vampires, and Guito answers to his satisfaction, but also says that reading about it in some dusty scroll and seeing it are another thing altogether. Crow shows him a map marked with locations of nests over the years, which demonstrate a search pattern. He says that he cannot give up the search for the Master, because for all he knows, he is close. As Katrina's infection progresses, she begins having vivid visions from Valak's point of view as he enters a church, killing the cleaning lady who is working there and abducting the priest. Distraught, Katrina sneaks out a window and nearly jumps off the ledge to kill herself before being stopped by Montoya, who cuts his arm as they fall through the window. Katrina, seeing his blood, bites him in the site of the wound, prompting an enraged Montoya to knock her out cold. Crow arrives with Guito shortly thereafter and sees the signs of the struggle, though he does not realize that Montoya is bitten. Katrina awakes to a vision of Valak interrogating the priest, who shows Valak a location on a map. She sees Valak anoint the priest not with oil, but with his own blood before finally beheading him. But with luck, she sees Valak pass by a sign on the highway, giving them something to go on. With that, Guito calls on his connections in the church to search for missing priests in the area. The following morning, Crow and Guito are at the church from which the priest was abducted. After seeing the bodies of both the priest and the cleaning lady, Crow and Guito are baffled by what Valak was doing. While Crow and Guito are away, Montoya awakes from a slumber to find Katrina perched on his chest. Puzzled, while slightly amused but also disturbed, he moves to dislodge her, but his fear grows as his strength fails to move her. Helpless, Katrina, in a semi-conscious daze, rapes Montoya.
Oh.
As he vacillates between resistance and acceptance, his eyes close, and as they reopen, he sees himself instead being raped by Valak. His consciousness fades as Katrina drinks from the wound on Montoya's arm. Later they awake, mutually unsure of what has happened, but deeply troubled. Let's see. That's a big moment.
Ooh.
After Crow and Guito get back to the hotel, Valak disinters himself from the sand. Benedictine monastery, that's all the same. Mm-hmm. Crow pulls Guito to the side and attacks him yet again. Guito says that Crow won't kill him, as he believes him to be a righteous man, but Crow reveals that he killed his own father when he turned him to a vampire, and if he can do that, he would have no trouble killing the priest. That's the first time this is revealed in this, by the way. Finally, Guito's resolve shatters, and he admits that he knew that the murdered priest was the only man who knew the location of the Black Cross of Berzier, and that he and Alba came to America to speak with him, but he was told not to share that information with Crow, and he doesn't understand why. Interspersed are Katrina's visions of Valak and the master vampires as they attack and brutally murder the monks in the monastery, and as Valak finds and reclaims the cross. The next morning, the group search for Valak using Katrina's psychic link, which leads them to the site of the massacred monastery, then finally to a sun-bleached ghost town. They deduce that the tiny population that would have been there has been converted into a large nest of vampires, and that they are likely sheltering in the town's dirtiest building, the former jail. Montoya ties Katrina to their vehicle, and she tells him to promise to take care of her, which he helplessly agrees to do. In the jail, the trio concoct a plan to use Father Guito as bait to lure the vampires up through an elevator, after which Crow and Montoya will harpoon them and yank them into the sunlight. Though inexperienced, the young priest shows a surprising faculty in killing vampires, and he quickly earns his keep among the trio, successfully killing several master vampires before the view of a distraught Katrina. As the sun begins to set, they realize that they haven't the time to finish their task, but keep persisting, given the stakes. The vampires eventually awake and attack the group in full force, forcing Montoya and Katrina to flee and knocking Crow unconscious. Father Guito has just enough time to hide. In their flight, Katrina finally succumbs to her vampirism, and she attacks Montoya, biting his neck and feeding on him, as he embraces her tenderly, falling unconscious. Crow awakes, beaten and tied. Cardinal Alba reveals himself, explaining to Crow that through his research, he has come to believe that Valak is the second coming of Christ, and that the exorcism that was performed on him, that destroyed his body yet preserved his soul, was the means by which his divinity could be realized, and through which he could spread salvation to all on earth. That immortality through vampirism is Christ's mean of creating heaven for his followers. Whoa. But the ritual's failure and the Catholic Church's violent suppression of vampirism kept Christ's goodwill from all mankind. Alba explains that he will complete the ritual, that we will all become Valak's children, that we will eat of his body and drink of his blood. Crow, unconvinced, attempts to taunt Valak. Valak sits in front of Crow and wipes the blood away from his wounds in an act of tenderness. He calls him a crusader and explains that he has known many of his kind over the centuries, that his kind, men who will rise in force to kill in the name of their Lord, are as old as the serpent's temptation, that they spill blood, wasting it, that with his kind blood becomes a part of him and he a part of his victims. He recites the prayer of St. Catherine of Siena, "Precious blood, ocean of divine mercy, flow upon us. Precious blood, most pure offering, procure us every grace. Precious blood, hope and refuge of sinners, atone for us. Precious blood, delight of holy souls, draw us. Amen." Valak goes on to say that he has given to Crow what was dearest to him, his vampire thralls. And what sacrifice did he offer in return? Quote, "You have offered me a holocaust of my children." Crow, baffled, seems defiant, but upon seeing Katrina return transformed, his spirit is crushed. Valak explains that Crow will be punished and rewarded via crucifixion and immolation, as was performed in the original ceremony, and that Crow's sacrifice will make him the last man to ever die. Just as all hope seems lost, Montoya awakes, bleeding out but not yet dead, and Father Guito discovers a hidden shotgun in the abandoned bar. As the sun begins to rise, Guito kills Alba with a shotgun, leaving Valak with no one to complete the ritual. When Valak requests that Guito perform the ritual instead, Guito utters a prayer for divine forgiveness and, crying, kills himself with a shotgun.
Oof.
Valak kneels over his body and recites 2 Corinthians 7:10. 2 Corinthians? Is that what that make?
Corinthians.
2 Corinthians.
Yeah.
I just made the Donald Trump mistake. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did that. Shows what I know. 2 Corinthians 7:10. Godly sorrow produces repentance without regret, but the sorrow of the world brings only death. He then says to Crow that we need only wait, that he still has the cross, and that there are always more priests. Montoya arrives just in time, however, to free Crow from the cross, using the modified crossbow and winch, and the vampires scatter, fleeing from the quickly rising sun. Crow pursues Valak into a ramshackle storage shed and impales him with the Black Cross, though Crow is quickly proven to be no physical match for the ultra-powerful Master Vampire. Cornered and without options, the quick-thinking Crow kicks over a support beam, collapsing the roof of the building and exposing Valak to the full power of the sun, which incinerates him until he finally explodes. Montoya, now turning, finally admits to Crow that he is in Katrina's thrall. Though Montoya fears for his life and, unconsentingly, Katrina's, Crow decides to let them go, and that he is going to give up crusading, given that he has, in his way, captured Jerusalem. If he doesn't stop the killing now, he never will. He warns Montoya pointedly, however, that soon enough there will be more men like him who will finish the task. Crow turns his back on the remaining vampires and walks off into the new day's dawn.
Ooh, clap, clap, clap. Yeah, I see what you mean about there being a sort of through line between our two edits, even though they are in many ways quite distinct.
Yeah, we leaned into the Catholicism quite a lot more.
Well, we both quoted either scripture or holy texts or religious texts of some kind. I love, too, that, like, you went, for, like, the prayer of St. Catherine of Siena?
Yep.
That was beautiful. And then I enjoyed bringing in the Song of Solomon, which is just it's a strange, gorgeous, sort of controversial poem.
So you brought back the garden.
Yeah.
And I brought back Jesus.
You made Jesus a sex pest.
Yeah.
Is he actually Jesus?
Probably not.
In
my thinking, probably no.
That's for the best, I think.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hot take to make Jesus, a bad man.
Yeah. No, Jesus is not the villain of this story. But, but yeah, he was a heretic. Valak is set up as being as heretical in his day.
Yeah. Well, and, we both clearly played with that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was that, he was a heretic, but he had faith. Like, he was a man of faith. He did not, being a heretic doesn't mean that you're a devil worshiper. Which is my version, too,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still quoting scripture.
Yeah.
He's still that guy. The moments of tenderness, wiping the blood from his wounds.
The priestly behavior.
What I wanted him to do was wash Jack Crow's feet. But there's no way for him, I could think of, for him to do that.
I would just do it, man. That sounds awesome. Maybe he's preparing him for the sacrifice or something, anointing him.
Maybe. Yeah.
Pouring the oil over his forehead or something, or absolving him of his sins or something. Right. That's Jesus-y.
Jesus-y,
right?
Sure.
I love the sort of Catholic imagery that we're both trafficking in here. Man, that's so cool. Your movie goes hard.
Yeah. Well, so suicide is a sin in Catholicism. So, making the priest kill himself is
that's rough. Yeah,
that was a brutal moment for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But I did a lot of. I'm not even sure it's noticeable just in reading it out loud. But a lot of the hotel stuff, they break that up the way that the exposition is given out in such a way. So they when Katrina first awakes. When you think she's about to be raped in the original movie, she that only part of the exposition to do with her is given at that point, and then later on there's another scene where he gives the rest of it and just do that all there, do it all at once.
Yeah, well, and we both cut out the needless sort of multi-part delivery of the cross and everything too.
Yeah, I got rid of that altogether.
Yeah, well, because why would you bother? Why bother?
What's the point?
For me, I just chose to. I was I like the idea of there being a misdirect of some kind. So I had them go after the cross of Berzier initially, but really it was this other random relic that Jan Valak actually wanted. It just is a coincidence that the cross of Berzier was at one time relevant to his life. I really, yeah, Eurovision. I mean, this sounds like a watch it once, cry for a while, and don't watch it again.
Well, I
movie
wanted it
for
to be
me.
brutal. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this is, it's probably meaner than the original movie, but the problem is that the original movie is mean, but it gives nothing to the characters to latch on to for the audience.
I don't feel like
if you give them at least a little bit, you can go harder.
Yeah, like I feel like with the original movie there's no why. Like, why does it mean? It just is.
Right.
You know, I want something, like, I want to be able to chew on the why of it a little bit, and I feel like I get that with yours. Whereas, I mean, for me, I love the sort of mixture of like people doing awful things and people doing tender things, or like there being like scenes of horror and scenes of like sadness as well.
Right.
Honestly, I feel like we both are playing with that in our revisions.
Yeah. So who's left? Who's still standing in your movie? So it's Valak, Katrina, and Gito.
Yes.
For me, it's Crow, Montoya, and Katrina.
Right. Kind of a for the moment.
Yeah.
Ending.
With knowing that Montoya and Katrina are fucked. So
yeah,
really, I kind of have one survivor, and
which Crow's whole thing seems to be that he's always the sole survivor. Mm-hmm. You know, like he kills his family.
Yeah.
He loses his team. He whatever. Like, you know, he's gonna kill his friends later.
Yeah.
But I really believe the relationships more in your version.
Well, I also really wanted to. Speaking of that, I really wanted to deal with the Thrall stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's
yeah.
So your version of that was to make Montoya bitten already, obviously, but that your movie you want to get Montoya out of this movie.
I wanted, I was like, Montoya's got to go, and so does Crow eventually. Honestly, I think I made Crow a little bit worse than he was in the original.
Yeah,
iteration.
I think you made him crueler too.
Yeah, just because like he's a person whose entire life has been shaped by cruelty, so
right.
He is also cruel. You know,
yeah,
like
kind of interesting.
And like I wanted to emphasize like how much that hurts the people around him. Like he has no joy in life. He just exists to perform a task.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, sensitive characters can see that like this existence is painful for Crow as well, because again, he can't find fellowship with anyone. But I liked the idea of like Gito and Katrina finding comfort in one another, or like trying to comfort one another in a hopeless situation. But then Valak being the one who offers them the alternative, you know, like, you don't have to die. You don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be in hell on earth. You know, like, you can live in paradise. You just have to be courageous to do so. So I don't know. I was kind of attracted to that.
Yeah, you and I did pretty similar things with Valak. We really went into the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think like my Valak has more actual goodness to him, or more like he is more of a morally gray figure, I would say, than yours.
Yeah, my Valak's still pretty malevolent, but
yeah, like I think his lows are lower, but perhaps his highs are higher.
Yeah.
I don't know, hard to say.
But yeah, I really wanted the my way of dealing with Montoya was I thought it'd be interesting to invert that, because I mean he's so schlubby and he's so like the way that he presents himself, the way he carries himself, the way the original movie sets it up, you really can expect like it's playing with your expectation on your first viewing that you're about to watch sexual violence coming from this guy, and you are never primed as a member of an audience. Not that it can't happen, but you just aren't used to encountering it that way, that sexual violence would come the other way around. That you'd see Cheryl Lee, who is slight and, you know, could do that to somebody like him. So, yeah, I want to see... I mean, vampirism so often is playing with sexuality, the exchange of body fluids.
Yeah, it's coded as sexual violence.
And when Valak bites, the movie doesn't make really much of this at any other point in the movie, but when Valak bites her at the start of the movie, it's clearly...
It's in the inner thigh. It's very sexual.
Yeah, it's presented in that way for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, let's play with the sexuality of that. So the sex. I mean, that's the thing about the vampires. It presents itself as seduction when it is in fact violation.
Yeah, like it's perhaps
it's
sexual
violent.
sadism,
Right,
as opposed to like eroticism or something. For me, yeah, I ended up kind of taking most of the sexuality out, because I was thinking, like, who am I left with? Valak, as I represent him, still sees himself as a priest, a Christian priest, even though his soul is damned.
Celibate. Yeah.
Celibate. And, you know, I think the ecstasy, like, I did not specify where he bit Katrina. I didn't imagine it as happening on the thigh. I saw it as, like, if she felt ecstasy from it, it's the kind of religious ecstasy that you see in, you know, Baroque sculpture or statuary. The ecstasy of Saint Teresa, stuff like that.
Yeah. But again, it's funny how we both identified a similar problem.
Yeah.
And so, which went different directions with that case, but, you know, remove the sexuality versus ramp it up.
Well, and, you know, my last survivors, my humanish survivors are Katrina and Guiteau. And, you know, Guiteau is also a priest. He's also celibate and has perhaps a different relationship to, like, the body and, you know, the sensuous world than someone who is not celibate. So I don't know. I liked the idea of there being almost like a fraternal or like sibling relationship, or even just like some kind of beautiful platonic thing that happens. Like we enter into a state of innocence when we go back into the Garden of Eden or something. I don't know. Like I don't think I was like consciously thinking about all this stuff, but I just followed my impulses.
It kind of comes through.
Yeah. Well, this was so interesting.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one so far.
Mine too. This has been my favorite revision for sure. For I think both of us. I mean, gosh, yours is so stark and intense.
Yeah, certainly.
Oh my gosh,
we went in some pretty. It's amazing that we both went in pretty wild directions.
I know.
Yeah, we did some wild shit.
Yeah, but I think this movie warrants that kind of intense makeover, because there's some really interesting stuff at its core. It's just I really don't care for the execution. Even though there are, you know, moments where the, like, John Carpenter genius shines through. So I wanted to do it justice. Because, you know, again, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, this is a movie I should love, and I just don't. So I'm glad we kind of gave it everything we had.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm tired.
Me too.
Let's go back to our coffins.
Okay. Well, dear listener, which revision would you like to see? Or do you have a revision of your own? Let us know at thedevilsworkshoppod@gmail.com.